Credit cards with magnetic strips have been around since the 1960s, and up until about 10 years ago, this was the only way to make physical transactions with a card. But in recent years, we've seen the implementation of chip technology and contactless payments like Tap to Pay and Apple Pay. With these new forms of payment technology in play, swiping cards with magnetic strips is actually now the least secure way to use a card, and Mastercard has announced that the end is near for magnetic strips. The technology will be phased out over the coming years. So in this video, we are going to look at how this technology came to be, and that in itself is a fascinating story involving IBM, the CIA, and one unlikely housewife with a bright idea. And then we're going to look at Mastercard's plan for phasing out the technology and what card payments will look like into the future. So when payment cards were first introduced in 1950 with the original Diners Club charge card, they were just pieces of cardboard with numbers printed on that the cashier would have to write down. By 1959, the first plastic credit cards were introduced, and cashiers would take an imprint of the numbers on a piece of paper. But it was in the 1960s when the idea of combining magnetic tape, same as was used in computers and cassette players, with a plastic payment card came to be. According to IBM, an engineer at the company named Forrest Parry was looking for a way to attach a piece of magnetic tape to an ID card for a client, that client being the CIA. He asked his wife for ideas, and you would have thought the project was classified, but anyway, he asked his wife and she suggested that he use an iron to melt the strip onto the plastic ID card, and it worked. So magnetic strip cards started out as cards that could be swiped to get into secure locations, such as the CIA headquarters, and later the technology was adopted by payment processors, so credit card numbers could be communicated through a swipe instead of the tiring process of writing them all down. This became the dominant technology for payment cards throughout the second half of the 20th century. But in the late 90s, EMV chips were introduced and started to gain popularity throughout the 2000s. Now 86% of face-to-face transactions globally use EMV chips, and this percentage is even higher in Europe than it is in the US. Mastercard has now found in a survey that 81% of Americans would be happy with a card that just had a chip and no magnetic strip, so they took the decision to phase them out. In 2024, cards in Europe will no longer have magnetic strips in addition to chips, and in the US, the same process will happen in 2027, with banks no longer required to provide a strip as well as a chip. And by 2029, no new Mastercard will be issued with a magnetic strip, and then finally by 2033, no working Mastercard in circulation will have a magnetic strip at all. This long schedule gives merchants time to adapt to retiring the technology. High-volume fast food restaurants in the US notably still make use of magnetic strips because they are faster than chips. But this will likely be replaced by encouraging customers to make contactless transactions instead of using their chips. And just like that, one technology is retired and another one takes its place. Guys, thanks for watching. Please subscribe if you're new. If you want to hang out with me once a month or even once a week on a live Zoom call and ask questions about credit cards, finance, etc., check out the link to our Patreon in the description below. Please subscribe to the channel if you're new, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.